The internet broke. That's not an exaggeration. It trembled, shook, and exploded with a wave of emotions the moment the first photo leaked. It started as a blurry behind-the-scenes snapshot, just a silhouette, a moment in motion, but in that motion was a world of emotion. The image was raw, ethereal, and cinematic all at once. And at the center of it all, Lee Minho, lifting Song Hye-kyo in his arms during a maternity photoshoot that has now become the most emotionally cherished moment in recent Korean entertainment history. At first, fans didn't even believe it was real. Is this AI? Is this from a drama? Is this photoshopped? The disbelief flooded every corner of the internet. But then the truth came out. Yes, it was real. Yes, it was a candid moment during a very private maternity shoot that the couple had intended to keep just for themselves. But someone, possibly a studio assistant or crew member who simply couldn't contain their excitement, captured that one moment where reality looked more magical than any drama ever could. The setting was soft, timeless. A sun-drenched studio with flowing curtains, natural light bathing the floor in warm tones, and everything decorated in neutral pastels and light gold. Song Hye-kyo stood barefoot in a delicate maternity gown, her silhouette glowing under the soft lighting, her hands resting lovingly over her baby bump. She looked like a dream, no, a goddess. Then Lee Minho stepped into the frame. His gaze didn't move away from her, not for a second. Every photo, every frame caught the adoration in his eyes, the kind of adoration that novels and fairy tales spend chapters trying to describe. And then it happened. As the photographer gently asked them to pose closer, Song Hye-kyo laughed, one of those real, deep belly laughs that come from feeling completely safe and loved. And just as she was laughing, Lee Minho leaned forward, scooped her up into his arms and spun her gently. Not too fast, not dramatically. Just enough to make the room feel like it was holding its breath. The camera shutter didn't stop. Blick, blick, blick. And somewhere in those clicks, the world found its new favorite image. When the photo leaked online, fans did not take it lightly. Screaming, crying, collapsing into emotional piles of joy. The hashtag #MinKyoLift began trending within minutes. On TikTok, fans began reenacting the pose with their partners, dubbing it the Lift of Love Challenge. On Twitter, people shared poetic one-liners like, "He didn't just lift her. He lifted all our standards. And that's not a pose. That's a vow in motion." People who had never believed in love suddenly started bookmarking the photo. Artists around the globe drew digital fan art inspired by that moment, from oil-style portraits to animated storybook scenes showing them surrounded by stars and their unborn twins. Fanfiction writers published stories within hours. Some made videos of the moment, looping the lift with soft Korean ballads in the background, narrating love stories that began with one simple motion. A man holding the woman he loves more than anything, not just because it looked beautiful, but because it was real. What makes the moment so unforgettable isn't just the gesture. It's what the gesture represented. A pregnant woman, radiant and vulnerable. A man, strong yet gentle. Together, they created a picture of love that didn't rely on spectacle. It was a quiet triumph, a deeply emotional punctuation in their story. Lee Minho didn't lift her for the camera. He lifted her because he couldn't help it. Because in that moment he wasn't acting. He was loving. The couple has since stayed quiet, choosing not to address the viral moment directly. But sources close to them have shared that when they saw the photo, Song Hye-kyo cried. Not out of embarrassment, not out of pressure, but because, as she reportedly told a friend, "I never knew love could look so peaceful. I never imagined I'd be the one in arms that safe." Lee Minho, on the other hand, simply smiled and said, "She's carried so much alone. The least I can do is carry her now." That single quote has become iconic. It's now printed on fan merch, etched into bracelets, shared on wallpapers, and even used in wedding vows. And why not? It's a statement that holds the very essence of devotion. Not loud, not boastful, but steady and certain. But the emotion doesn't stop there. Fans began imagining what the twins will say one day when they're old enough to see this photo. Will they understand what kind of love they were born into? Will they know how much magic surrounded them before they even took their first breath? Will they be able to see in that image the unspoken promise their parents made? To raise them in love, in laughter, and in the kind of tenderness that doesn't need words to be felt. Photographers have since shared more details about that day. It was quiet. No entourage, no chaos. Just the couple, the camera crew, and the atmosphere of love that hung heavy in the air. At one point, Lee Minho brought in a small bouquet he had hidden in his coat pocket. Flowers that matched the first bouquet he ever gave her when they started dating. When he gave it to her, she smiled and said, "You still remember?" He answered, "I remember everything." The team behind the shoot was reportedly stunned by their chemistry. One crew member described them as the realest love story I've ever seen, saying, "They didn't need direction. They just moved together like music." Another said, "It was like watching two people rewrite the definition of intimacy." And perhaps that's why fans have latched onto this moment with such passion. Because we live in a world that's often too fast, too loud, too transactional. And yet here were two people who reminded us that sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories are told in whispers, in gestures, in one man's arms around the woman carrying his heart and their future. People began revisiting all their old interviews, trying to spot clues. Did she hint at this before? Was he always this gentle behind the scenes? The deeper fans dove, the more they found quiet confirmations of what that photo had already told them. That this wasn't a surprise. This was the culmination of something building for years. A love that had quietly grown roots, and was now blooming in public, whether they intended it or not. And now, as we wait for their next chapter, the arrival of their twins, this photo stands as a monument, not just to a moment captured by chance, but to a feeling millions of us now carry in our hearts. A reminder that real love is possible, that it can be soft and strong at the same time, that it doesn't have to shout to be heard, can be felt, in a lift, in a smile, in the silent way a man looks at the woman who changed his world forever.